Was there a point in your life or your career when it wasn't necessarily about whether the 30 days was completely packed, or you had work or you didn't have work, that you just were confident in yourself and in your beliefs and in your systems and your potential, that you were going to make it all work?
Hmm. Well, I'll tell you what happened to me was 15 years of freelance. I loved it. Like I really loved it a lot. But when I looked back and saw that all of that dread about finding the work had never really metastasized or materialized, um, a really curious thing happened. I got, to bring it back to where we started, I got bored. I got bored with my model. And just so your listeners understand, I I got a little arrogant in my early days, like from 28 until 40. I freelanced really well in my chosen field. You know, I had a toolbox, and the tools in there allowed me to have a weirdly successful audition rate. In other words, I booked like like 1 in 3 auditions I booked. Didn't matter what it was. I was good at auditioning. So I was able to work on lots and lots of different jobs that I really didn't care about at all. I didn't put any real value. I didn't assign any value to the infomercial or to the nature doc that I was narrating, or to the pilots for the sitcoms that I was doing, or the occasional movie or the play. Where, I touched everything like it was hot. I didn't It wasn't the work that was important to me. What was important was working when I wanted, and then taking my retirement in early installments. So when I was in my 20s and 30s and really early 40s, I had a really interesting balanced life. I didn't swing for the fences like a lot of my friends in the industry did. I was happy looking for projects in Hollywood and New York that were so poorly conceived and so badly executed ultimately that no amount of luck or talent could have salvaged them. I would work on these turds, get paid, and then when they failed, I wouldn't be saddled with anything resembling a commitment. However, because I did a good job on the work, word got around and I had a good reputation. So the answer to your question is, it was really easy for me to get hired on jobs that I didn't care about for a long time. And then the freelance world became less interesting when I realized that all of the anxiety that came was completely a fiction in my mind. I had nothing to
Yeah.
worry about at all. Looking back, it was clear. I was in control of my own schedule, even though every month started with all those blanks.
Was all of that clear while you were in it, though, or is this just like a reflection that you had after the fact where you
No,
realized?
man. What happens is I got complacent in my model, and I needed something to break that. And that something was a phone call from my mother, actually. I was working in San Francisco, right across the bay here at CBS, and I was 42, hosting a show called Evening Magazine. I may have told you about this, Nick. I don't remember, but it was a
Yeah.
hell of a day. This is a great gig, by the way. I would go out every night and shoot raps for this evening show that came on after the news. So I was the guy that would go, like, to the museum opening, or maybe to a winery up in Napa, or to some opening of a play. And it's like, tonight on Evening Magazine, we bring you here, and blah, blah, blah. And here's our first story. And I mean, it was a cushy little hosting gig. And I was in my cubicle one day, and my mother called me from Baltimore and said, "Michael, your grandfather turned 90 years old yesterday." Um, Her exact words were, "He's not going to be around forever." And before I tell you this, I should tell you that my pop, he's the reason Microbe Works exists. He
Mhm.
only went to the 7th grade. He was a master electrician, steam fitter, pipe fitter, welder, carpenter, could build a house without a blueprint. He was that guy. My mother says, he's 90, not going to live forever. Wouldn't it be great, she said, if before he died, he could turn on the TV and see you doing something that looked like work? And that was it, dude.
Cut to the chase.
I
Jeez.
mean, geez, mothers, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
I mean, devastating. And of course, she was right. She's always right. And I went to my boss and I said, hey, man, is there any reason that this show, Evening Magazine, can't be hosted from a place that looks like work? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know, a construction site, a factory floor, a sewer. He's like, you want to host Evening Magazine from a sewer? I'm like, why not? He said, you know what? I don't care. Do whatever you want. Nobody's watching the damn show anyway. So I took my cameraman into the sewers the next day. And what happened down there is the subject of a book I wrote a few years ago. It totally changed my entire life. I I was unable to do my job because of the roaches, because of the rats. A literal river of shit knocked me down countless times. It was the most inhospitable place to film ever, but it sure looked like work. And I wound up meeting a sewer inspector down there. And because I couldn't do my job, I helped him do his. And my camera guy filmed it all. And when we looked at the footage, we saw something that I had never seen on TV before, which was a host being humbled by his environment and literally becoming an apprentice in real time, taking orders from a guy he didn't even know. And in the course of the conversation between me and the sewer inspector, Gene Cruz was his name, the viewer wound up learning all sorts of really interesting things about our infrastructure and about the construction of this incredible sewage system and all these things. It was totally inappropriate for Evening Magazine, but I put it on the air anyway. And the feedback was unlike anything I'd ever seen. And it wasn't all great. Some people, they're sitting down trying to enjoy their meatloaf at 7:00 at night. And they see this 42-year-old smartass crawling through a river of crap, making dick jokes and whatnot. It was not appropriate. But
Making my mom proud.
God,
Hopefully.
mother. But here's the answer to your question. What happened when I let go of this idea that I'm a host who's paid to create the illusion of competence and knowledge in these short, fake little TV bursts, which I'd been doing for 15 years and getting paid pretty well for doing it. When I let go of that and became this sort of avatar / cipher / apprentice, really a guest is the best word. When I started acting like a guest instead of a host, and when I saw that dynamic on this video, I knew it was different. And when I got the feedback, it's not that people said, "Oh God, that was funny," or "Boy, that was interesting," or "That was gross or disgusting." Yes, they said all that, but the thing they really said that made me pay attention for the first time in my life and think differently about TV, they said, "You think that was dirty? You should meet my brother, my cousin, my uncle, my dad, my mom, my sister, my niece. Wait till you see what they do." And there was a lot of this, guys. A lot of people responded to that segment by saying, "Oh, yeah, I got that beat." And really, for the first time in my life, that made me think, something? It might be possible to do a TV show that I actually care about. Because if I can get away with being a guest instead of a host, and if I can turn the carpenter or the steam fitter or the pipe fitter or the sewage worker or the welder into the host of a show that actually has my name in the title, that's different, And so I never looked at my calendar again in the same way. I sold that footage. Took me a while, but Discovery bought it. And when we put the pilot on the air, the same thing happened. overwhelmed with these ideas from viewers. So very quickly, it became clear that this was a format that the viewer could program instead of the network, that the subject could host instead of the host, right? No sets other than the workspace that was provided. No second takes ever. No script. That's not true. We did do some second takes early on, but I
To say
realized,
there was a whole like section at the end of the show. I think you had some second takes on.
well, we would show you stuff that we couldn't use in the show,
Yeah,
but
right.
but halfway through the first season, a really important thing happened, and I realized the show was either going to kill me or change my whole life,
Mhm.
and maybe change the topography of cable TV. It seemed that it was pretty consequential, but we were doing it wrong. We were missing something.
Mhm.
We were missing a level of honesty or authenticity, I guess would be better. And so I hired a behind the scenes camera, basically
Mm.
just called it like a truth cam. And I said, look, your job is just to document the making of the show. Just always be wide, never stop rolling, and make sure the crew, I want to get to know the crew through this camera. And I also want to be able to turn to this camera whenever I feel like it to tell the viewer what's going right and what's going wrong and what's frustrating, right? It became kind of like a confessional,
Mm.
and that hadn't been done before. And that dynamic allowed the show to explode. That's a very long answer to your question, but when I realized I was a better guest than a host, I s- I the whole freelancing thing felt a little different. And when I realized that, my mom actually had given me some excellent advice. Do something that looks like work and own it, really lean into it. That's the that's when my life changed. That's when I actually started caring about the stuff I was making. Like,
It's
actually cared about it.
it's interesting because the catalyst for that entire like directional shift with your life was very concrete. That came from your mom saying do something, but then like from a contradictory perspective, you actually did less. Like you didn't manifest that into happening, right? You like let go of your standards and what you were doing, and that created the show that actually made more sense than you. So that's a difficult lesson to teach someone where it's like, hey, sometimes you have to let go when everything that you see in nowadays is like, do it this way and it's going to create this life for you. When you're here saying, like, sometimes you actually have to step back and let go and let things just happen in order to be successful.
Less here, more here.
Mm.
It's not as simple as just do less or do more. You
Yeah.
have to you have to somehow find it's a scale, right? Every action equal opposite reaction.